Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. So I wrote an article that will be up on the site. It should be up on the site already, and it was one of my more favorite articles to write because I went into a rabbit hole last night about some things that kind of explain where the Braves are, why the Braves are where they are through 30 games. Both good and bad, mostly good, but there was one bad one in there, even though it's a little more promising. The first one I want to talk about is Ronald Acuña, and I titled it like When Talent Meets Experience. And Ronald Acuña has always been one of the most talented players in baseball, the most talented player, I think, in the National League pre-injury. Then we had the injury. And even though his injury, it seems like he took something away from that time. Like that year still gave, it wasn't a totally lost year, but because he's come back and he's done things and his advanced metrics are very similar, but one thing that stands out is his strikeout rate. It's nearly 10% lower than his next best career best, and it's 10% lower than his career average. He's only striking out 13.7% of the time, and when he's hitting the ball as hard as he is, that's why you're seeing that average at 327, 330. And I almost think it's as crazy as it sounds because he's already the NL MVP frontrunner, that he could actually be better than we've seen over the next 4 months. He could be better than we've seen.
I don't think that's crazy at all. I said it, if you guys watch a show last week or so, again, visit the site, Sports Talk ATL. A lot of the stuff we talk about on here, we have on the site, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Follow us, sportstalkatl.com. Please subscribe to the YouTube. But Ronald Acuña Jr. Has been getting away on just talent alone. And Brian Snicker has talked about it. A lot of the guys in the organization have talked about it, on how he's just the most talented baseball player they have ever seen. Spencer Strider talked about it. He was like, yeah, I'm just so glad that guy's on my team. I'm so glad that I get to root for this guy. He's just been getting by on talent, entering the peak athletic years of his career. And now the game is starting to slow down for him up here. That's going to be a scary sight for the rest of baseball.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen it. I mean, that K rate, I don't think I've ever seen such a substantial drop. And we're talking about 2 months here. This isn't like a small sample size. And it might rise a little over the season. It might go down. I don't know. Because that is a very large sample size. And really the only difference, and like he's been about just as valuable as he was in 2021. Despite having the higher average and stuff like that. His walk rate's a little down, but I expect that to come up. I mean, as you've seen, his approach at the plate has significantly improved, which has been seen by his K rate. Really, the only reason why his numbers aren't higher than they were in his peak years in 2020 and 2021 is because of the power numbers are slightly down. But I think we can all agree, anybody who's watched this guy, it's not because he has a lack of power. In fact, 72.7% of Ronald Acuña's home runs this year have been considered no doubters. That's a ridiculous percent because he's launching balls into the stratosphere when he does hit them. He's going to get a few cheapies here and there. He's going to. Like, it is going to happen where he just hits a little pop fly and to the other way, maybe over that fence in the chop house, just knocks a little one over there. It's going to happen. And they're going to rack up in bunches. So I know he's only on pace for, I think, 31, 32 homers. He hasn't hit a homer in, I think, 13 games. He's going to get hot here at some point and rattle off 10 in like a 20-game stretch or 10 in a 30-game stretch. And when that happens, those ISO numbers, his isolated power numbers, they're all going to shoot through the roof. They're a little low right now, but it's not because of a lack of power, and it's not because of lack of him hitting the ball hard. He is in the 100th percentile in average exit velocity, pretty much every metric hitting-wise. So I think those numbers rise. I think he flirts with 40 home runs. I don't know if he gets there, but he's going to be in the 38 to 42 range in homers. And when that happens and you combine that with 60 steals and you combine that with a over 300 batting average, I mean, we're talking about a player, one of the best players in Braves history, an NL MVP. And the only thing that can stop this man is injuries, because he's clearly taken the next step up in the head, and with experience, and the talent and the experience are starting to meet, and we're seeing something special.
Yeah, I saw a stat the other day that Ronald Acuña has 4 home runs, 450 feet or further. 4 other Braves have it as well. And then the next closest team in general has like 2. So Ronald, it's not for a lack of not hitting it hard. His elevation is just down. And it's unreal to see some of the ground outs that Ronald Acuña is getting. I mean, the insane numbers. Yeah, he's 100 percentile in pretty much every offensive category hitting wise. I mean, it's just a matter of time before this guy. We already saw him rattle off 4 or 5 home runs in like 6, 7 games.
He had 5 home runs in 7 games. Yeah. So it's coming. They're going to come in bunches. And when they do, he's going to flirt with 40. He actually had a line drive the other day that was caught. He would have had 3 hits yesterday that had an expected batting average of unavailable, which means it was 1,000 because it was supposed to not be caught. And that's how hard he's hitting the ball. I mean, when he gets out, it's like 113 off the bat, and it's every time. And it's very noticeable if you watch. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about the Braves bullpen and why people should be not as worried as they currently are.